Good evening, everybody. Stephen here. Just want to take a couple of minutes to kind of recount a really cool experience we had today in our warehouse and in a restaurant in town. I've been cleaning the warehouse out, moving one warehouse to another warehouse, and going through 25 years of inventory. You find a lot of really cool things. Some not so great that need to be kind of adiosed, but others that are end up being magical. We make a lot of Cabernet and Bordeaux varieties, so our wines tend to be ageable, which is a great thing, especially if you have a lot of inventory that's 15 to 20 years old. We don't get a chance to try these wines as often as we'd like. We're always sort of concentrated on the current vintage or the next release when we're thinking about winemaking and actually doing winemaking. But in the course of finalizing 3 or 4 days of warehouse movement today, I found one little box, a little 12-pack of 2001 Livermore Valley Cabernet. We weren't doing single vineyard cabs yet at the time. It was only our 4th or 5th vintage, I think. And this was the first vintage that our home ranch Cabernet vineyard, where our taste room is, came into production. And it was blended with the Full Kent vineyard, this is the last year, 2001. And we really loved the wine when it was released in 2004. We loved the vintage, the making of the wine. 2001 was an absolutely stunningly great vintage. Like all things that all time related things with great wine puts pins in personal timelines, and it puts pins in world timelines. Sometimes we were harvesting fruit right around the time that the planes flew into the towers. Started harvest a week or so after 9/11. So it was a heavy-hearted harvest in a lot of ways. When you're working in the winery, when you're punching down, when you're making wine, you're really immersed in it. There's not a lot of time to be thinking about other things. You're exhausted by the time harvest is over, in month 3. There's a lot to keep your mind occupied, which can be a wonderful thing, as it was in subsequent vintages where there were health problems with families and the like. When you're thinking about wines and about to try a wine that's 20 years old, and Beth Refsnyder, my assistant winemaker, one of my assistant winemakers, and I were at lunch at a restaurant called Uncle Yu's in Livermore, which is really one of the great, not only is the food amazing, really high-end Chinese cuisine, but Nick Liang, who owns the restaurant, is one of the great wine people in California. He has a great selection of wines, pours a ton of wine by the glass. So if you're really into wine and want to try half glasses and full glasses, Uncle Yu's at the Vineyard in Livermore is really the place to be. We tried the wine before we called Nick over. Nick's a big believer in Livermore. Nick's a big believer in the age-worthiness of Livermore wine. We wanted to make sure this wine was actually still drinkable. Way more than still drinkable. Wine was showing absolutely beautifully. Great structure still, mature flavors, but not oxidized, not gone. It just was an exquisite bottle of wine. And it really kind of underscored his thesis that Livermore is one of the great places in the world to grow these varieties, especially if you want to drink them 20 years after they've been made. And in this particular case, I couldn't agree with him more. This was a really beautiful bottle of wine, because it kind of underscored what our winemaking philosophy is all about, and underscored what it is that we love about wine, about being able to create something that's memorable, something that's beautiful and delicious, certainly something that brings joy and richness to people's lives. And the smile on Nick's face gave me all of that. So that was a beautiful occasion this afternoon. We have a bunch of older cabs that we're looking forward to pouring for our guests and club members of the Lineage Collection in Livermore, and wines that will, I'm sure, find their way to our website for those who really love older cab. That is just now showing how beautiful it can be. Thanks for your attention. Thanks for joining me tonight, and I hope you have a great week. I hope you are drinking well. I hope that you are drinking emotionally, because that's really the only way that one auto approach wine. You got to dig deep, in my opinion, suck the marrow out of the experience. Have a nice night.